Hey, everybody. Welcome to the morning market briefing. It's Friday, May 1st, 2026, and we've got a path to cheaper booze, TK.
It's already getting pretty cheap, but we do have a path to cheaper booze.
President Trump meeting with King Charles yesterday, they jointly announced the removal of a 10% tariff on British whiskey.
Does this include Scotch? Because if you ask
This is the Scotch.
they're talking Scotch.
Scotland, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because British whiskey. I had to Google it. I was like, what are some prominent British whiskey brands? And stop me if you've ever heard any of these before, but the number one is Filey Bay, followed by Cotswolds, followed by Bimber.
Oh.
And I've never heard of any of these.
Bimber, I barely know her.
Yeah, I've never heard of a...
So we're talking Scotch. This front runs and prevents an increase to 25% on the tariff in June. People are excited about this. They like it.
Yeah, I think it should be pretty good for the overall whiskey market here in the U.S. We actually looked into a company, MGPI, earlier this year. That's been struggling a little bit. Their company's actually worth half of the book value of their assets right now. So I think they might actually be able to use this to use their storage facilities that aren't currently being utilized for the bourbon in Kentucky, because there's a big surplus of that right now for the Scotch coming in.
Yeah, so for context, MGP Ingredients, which is MGPI, is basically any whiskey company that's shown up in the last 10
That's
years.
new. Yeah.
So
They make the juice.
Yeah, what they call it juice, but it's basically the ethanol that goes in there, the corn liquor. So if you have a celebrity who's pitching their own whiskey, that's where they're getting it. So you basically are like, hey, I've got some barrels. They buy the MGPI juice, and then it sits in there, and they're like, bang, new whiskey.
We got a label. We're rolling with it. It's been aged 3 years, 5 years, whatever.
Yeah, it's all the same input. So I've owned them in the past. They used to do really well, like when the craft whiskey phenomenon hit in like 2010, 2012. That stock did awesome, and I threw it out there at an investment meeting, and man, that thing has gotten kablamoed. It is a very cheap stock, but as we all know, Gen Z, not a drinking society. And so I do have some worry there. But eventually it'll be at a good value for even what the young people don't drink, I think.
There you go. Trump did credit King Charles, specifically his persuasive skills. So
he just dazzled him with those little fingers.
Yeah. he got in there and he said, you know what? We got to get the Scotch out there.
Was it the smallest handshake of all time?
Very small handshake. Very small. So interesting stuff there. I mean, I think I'm not a big Scotch guy personally, but I don't know. I mean, Matt has a formidable Scotch collection. I don't know if this moves the needle for him.
Yeah, the people should know that our old podcast studio, which was in Matt's lair, we were surrounded by fine Scotches, but they were just off camera.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Elon Musk is testifying on this whole OpenAI thing. He says he was a fool for providing $38 million in seed funding to Sam Altman and Greg Brockman, accusing them of stealing a charity. I'm curious how much this story plays in terms of like the general public. Like, do you think this is a needle mover? Do you think people really care?
I think so, because I think people are so plugged in to
on
the
AI
thing. You're either on one side of it or you're not. I feel like there are a lot of Sam Altman stands, and then there are a lot of people like myself who think he's like a weird creep and that he's up to no good. And I think he's quietly up to no good. I just can't figure out exactly how.
Yeah.
But this is a good example of infiltrating a charity that already existed and then commandeering it into being a billionaire is a pretty sly move, especially
Savvy.
when you basically pilfer the money of another billionaire. It's pretty impressive stuff, but not in like a good guy kind of way.
Yeah, Musk wants $180 billion in damages to be paid out.
I mean, I think that's probably fair.
I mean, what's OpenAI valued at now? It's
$800 billion.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he did give them the seed money and then also got no equity. And then the equity thing came later when they decided to shift gears and he was left in the cold. I just don't know how he's going to afford his next meal after losing.
I know. I feel bad for him. He's got to be starving. He's got to be starving. Let's talk private credit a little bit.
Please do.
I know we love this, but Ares bypassed a slowdown here, TK.
Yeah, I think you're kind of just seeing the divergence right now when it comes to whatever assets back that these different private credit funds. Ares is more focused on infrastructure, I believe. So they saw a slowdown or bypassed the slowdown in their core franchise and got $30 billion of total inflows in the first quarter, including $20 billion of equity commitments. So now their AUM is up to $640 billion. And then on the other side of the coin, people that were more levered to more higher risk areas of the economy, like software, which has been getting killed. Blue Owl Capital faces lowest capital haul in a year of $9 billion and then missed its AUM forecast of $180 billion.
Oops.
But the stock has been up recently just because of how much it got sold off. I mean, it almost got sold off to a level where people were assuming 100% of their assets were software backed versus like 30 or 40.
I mean, young Ryan, my protege, I had him do some legwork. He brought the idea of maybe buying some of the very short-term Blue Owl bonds. So think the bonds of the company that owns the garbage, because they had basically sold off to levels where it looked like they were almost in default rate, which is insane because, like, ultimately they're not going to hold the bag. The investors are going to hold the bag. I mean, they may take a hit because the fees that they charge go down, but they're not going to go bankrupt. They're just going to package up some new garbage and sell it to some new garbage eaters.
There's always raccoons.
Yeah, exactly. And there's always people willing to eat out of the garbage. I mean, look at Allbirds stock. You know, that's classic garbage eating. And so I mean, I think it's an interesting thing, but I think when it comes to our business, I don't think it's worth the risk to be like, hey, we're going to put you in these Blue Owl bonds because obviously the headline risk is high, the volatility is going to be high, and what are we using bonds for? But in some special cases, like where we really were like, hey, how can we get the most bang for our buck on very short-term bonds? That's definitely an opportunity. But that'd be a limited piece of our business. But he did do a little legwork.
Yeah, there's no cool way to blow up the conservative portion of your portfolio with a name that is front and centered as potentially blowing up, even if you're playing in a different place of the stack.
Yeah, I mean that was a big thing with like Toys R Us bonds back in like 2013. Everyone was trying to be like, man, Toys R Us is going to be some sort of turnaround. It's like they're only 13 cents a bond. You know, if you buy them, you know, you could make a ton of money when they pay off at par. And everyone's like, oh, that's a pretty good idea. And then they went bankrupt. So,
oops.
And you know what? Everyone who saw them go bankrupt thought, well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Radio Shack, I mean, it was another good example. Yeah. Kodak. I mean, these are all things that, Circuit City. These are all things that were like, man, this is a no lose because like you're only paying 13 cents on the dollar. It's like, yeah, but the thing is, if I pay 13 cents, that's 100% of my investment.
Yep.
So the downside is still 100%. Sure, the upside is huge, but there's a reason why they're trading there. So I would argue it's not worth the juice, to bring back the juice comment.
There we go. Apple up 4%, TK. I think the most interesting thing to me here is the iPhone revenue hitting a March quarter record. Tim Cook saying the iPhone 17 line has become the company's most popular smartphone ever.
Ooh.
Yeah, strong quarter out of Apple. Tim Apple himself ending his last...
What a run.
What a run, honestly. Ending his last quarter on a good note. Really strong quarter out of the iPhone 17, which is, I mean, I just haven't heard a lot of chatter about the iPhone 17, like as being a big product, but it seems that his shift from production to China to Vietnam might have ended up paying off for him a little bit. But they expect, for guidance for Q3, they expect total revenue growth of 14 to 17% and gross margins of 47 to 48%. There's a lot of supply constraints right now. This is kind of something we've been talking about a lot, but these memory costs just really aren't going down. We saw that with Meta yesterday. A big reason why they guided their CapEx wasn't necessarily because they're spending a lot more money. It had a lot to do with they kind of underestimated the fact that these memory costs were going to still persist. So a lot of supply constraints for Apple, primarily around the Mac models. They've been completely sold out basically of this new Mac Mini, which is like their local computer / GPU, I believe, that you can. It's not like you're getting an NVIDIA quality computer and GPU, but I think it does the trick for a lot of like smaller businesses. And then the new MacBook Neo, I think, is having some supply constraints with memory costs as well. But a great quarter, and the iPhone was a big hit. Big thing for me, though, I was really hoping that they were going to say something about the new glasses. Meta was big on their new glasses lines. They're going to release some lines later in this year. They're switching over they just switched over last month, Meta did, from having the sunglass model to like a model that actually, you don't look like a creep inside while you're wearing them. So hopefully maybe next quarter we'll see something big out of Apple on the glasses.
It's been a tough week for glasses. I mean, you saw the end of Jay Powell, the end of Tim Cook.
Yeah.
A lot of people are saying they've got a pretty similar style.
Yeah.
Slim, bespectacled, gray-haired men. They kind of sound the same, like to ride bikes. I mean, it's kind of the end of an era.
Yeah.
So,
man, are you gonna lose yours?
No, well, we'll see how long they last. I've been back on the glasses game. I need to wear them, and then I did like a good 5-6 year period where I never wore them at all. But now I regret not getting Botox because I've been doing a lot of squinting, and now I'm back on the glasses train.
Exxon up about 0.5%, coming in with adjusted net income of $1.16 per share. Surging energy prices enough there to offset higher costs. So,
yeah, good, decent quarters out of Exxon and Chevron, but I think that you saw a lot of this.
No
they beat
surprise,
analyst
right?
expectations. No one was going to be shocked at any sort of.
I mean, when your stock's up
revenue.
40% in 90 days,
and you can squeeze out a win on earnings. That'll work.
They were at more risk of going down than going up, I think, and now we're going sideways.
Yeah, there we go. Tom, what are we seeing as we close out the week fixed income wise?
I mean, we're definitely seeing some upside in yields. I mean, mortgages are just getting punished, which is an opportunity in my mind to just continue to take advantage of the negative convexity erasure there, so we can just lock in on some Ginnie Maes and continue to print money for a long time. I mean, the war in Iran is interesting. There was a big article out this morning that I was reading that basically said that the economic fever pitch is starting to hit really hard internally in Iran, that inflation has spiked like 70% in the last month, that everyone has basically lost their job, that the blockade is really extremely powerful. And I was thinking about it because we've talked in earlier calls that there's never been a war won by just a bombing raid. But thinking back on, we had a whole conversation about how this is almost like medieval warfare, where it's like the king would ride into battle with the 500 guys he had against the other king and his 500 guys. And if the king died in the middle of the battle, then England got all of France, And that's sort of an interesting thought, because if you use that same corollary to say this is sort of a medieval style battle, we basically entered the siege phase, which is now everyone's inside the walls of the city and we're starving them, and I'm assuming we're going to start launching the catapults over the wall. And I mean, eventually they're just going to have to open the doors and let everybody in. I mean, we've basically gone to medieval warfare, which is actually perhaps going to lead to less bloodshed and less chaos than what we've been doing for the last 50 years, which is just rolling in with tanks and, insurgency and stuff, which is just, eventually they're going to run out of food. I mean, the article was saying that most red meat in Iran is imported, and now we've got the blockade, and suddenly there's, the cost of, the same things everyone here complains about, beef, eggs, cheese, all those things have gone up by high double digits in just a few weeks, and most of those are subsidized by the government, and the government now has no source of income because they're about to cap these wells. And that, I mean, Iran could just basically roll over and die because there's nothing they can do now because they have no military power to end the blockade. So I don't know, it's kind of a weird thought process, but if you think of it, we're committing medieval warfare on them. It's a siege tactic, and it seems to be working.
There we go. Timur Al-Saud talking about Neil Kashkari's dissent. Did you see that article?
Yeah, there's a bunch of chatter going on about the next move should be hiking. Kashkari's drawing the line in the sand that he should hike. And, I mean, I just think what you shouldn't do, and even the Fed talked about this in the most recent minutes, and I don't know if they're just trying to be front and center and try and show themselves as the next great champions of independence at the Fed, and they're going to stand staunchly in the face of Kevin Warsh as he comes in to cut rates. But even in the last minutes, they were like, prolonged higher oil prices should lead to cutting rates, not hiking rates, because demand for everything else is going to fall. Inflation may actually fall even if oil prices spike, because it's just going to suck all the air out of the room.
Yep.
I mean, people aren't going to be buying stuff they're going to be buying an essential nutrient for one's car because that's the only way this country operates. And so I don't think that. I think it's just grandstanding. Neil Kashkari has, for the last 15 years, tried to become an important person economically, and he just kind of has never gotten it off the ground.
Never quite there.
Yeah. So he's just a whiny loser who wants to be on TV, and they'll let him because he's preaching to the choir.
Meanwhile, in Fed news, Chris Waller yesterday on his 67th birthday deadlifting 365.
That's pretty solid, man. I mean,
it's kind of a tank.
We haven't talked about this much on the podcast, but mine own mother is a competitive weightlifter in the senior ladies division for the U.S. and her competition record is 303, and she's a 71-year-old woman. So, I mean, he beat her by 60 pounds. I mean, I don't want to say, that's not so impressive, but it's not so impressive. I mean, if my mom
makes you think.
Yeah, my mom was older and significantly smaller and could do almost as much weight as you.
You're not that strong.
It's not as much of a flex as you think. So, not to brag.
Hicks, what are you deadlifting these days? He's a
Hicks,
runner.
yeah, Hicks is training for a marathon. He's not working on that posterior chain right now.
But you could throw up 365, I bet.
Oh, yeah. Hicks can certainly.
He just gave a real smirk and a head shake. So 365, not that much.
Yeah. I mean, listen, good for him. He's getting in there. He's doing some work.
Yeah.
But, unless you're doing like real heavy weight, like really impressive weight, then
don't
you
post
should just don't post it. Yeah. You don't see me posting stuff.
Yeah.
So
I like it. All right, we'll wrap it up there. We will be back on Monday. I think Ben's still going.
He's gone all next week.
Yeah.
I'll be gone next week. So
back to the
Tomcats.
The popular combo.
Yeah. I'm gone Monday, Tuesday, so it'll be a solo call.
Oh man, you might have to get right guy.
I got to write the market memo today too. I realized that about 10 minutes ago. That's
tough times.
That's Ben's job. We're just doing Ben's job all week. So.
Yeah. It's brutal. Just putting the team on your back, Tom. I love it. All right. We'll wrap it up there. You guys have a great weekend. We'll talk to you soon.